Hello and welcome to the Bates Information Session. Folks, my name is Jared Rivers and I'm the Senior Associate Dean and Director for Diversity Enrollment here in the Bates Admission Office. I've been here for the past 7 years, however, I've been in the field of admission for the past 19 years. In that time, I've worked for 4 different institutions. Prior to Bates, I was with Brandeis University for 2.5 years. Before Brandeis, I was with Cornell University in upstate New York for 6.5 years. And my first 3 years was done at my alma mater, the University of Maine at Farmington. So I am not a Bates graduate. However, given that I've been here for the past 7 years, I'm very, very excited to introduce you to this fantastic liberal arts college. Now, what I'm going to do over the next 30 minutes is try to share information that makes Bates different from other small private liberal arts colleges, of which there are many to choose from, particularly here in the Northeast. I will try to keep this information very fresh and distinct from those peer institutions. One of the ways that I'll achieve that goal is by sharing some information about the Bates history and our founding. So if you're not familiar with that particular history, this is a small private liberal arts college that was founded by idealists back in 1855. In fact, Bates was one of the first liberal arts colleges to open its doors to all students, regardless of things like gender, race, religion, nationality, or socioeconomic status. You'll be happy to know that that still remains very much at the heart of the Bates mission today. Which is why our 1,800 undergraduates come from all 50 states and nearly 70 different countries from around the world. 26% of our students self-identify as students of color, and another 14% self-identify as first generation to college. So clearly, this is a campus community that has always embraced the ideals of access. Now, thanks in part to our great leadership, our president, Clayton Spencer, who recognizes the importance of this moment in our nation's history, has started an anti-racism campaign that will work to make real change, not only for this campus and this community, but the surrounding area, and make real promise for future students, faculty, and staff who will be a part of this community. Now, this is a campus that is located in the heart of Lewiston, Maine. Lewiston has about 36,000 full-year residents, but as you go into the center of Lewiston and you cross over the bridge, that takes you into our twin city of Auburn, which has another 24,000 full-year residents. Combined, there are about 60,000 full-year residents in the Twin Cities. That makes this area of the state of Maine the second largest urban area for our state. The state of Maine has about 1 million people total, and about 100,000 people reside in a 30-mile radius of where this campus is located. So for our state, this is fairly densely populated. The initial people who settled throughout these twin cities are the Wabanaki people. The mighty Androscoggin that flows through this area of the state was very much the lifeblood of this region for centuries. But as you move into the late 19th century and the early 20th century, Lewiston and Auburn were dominated by lots of shoe factories and textile mills that attracted a lot of migrant workers, as they were called, from places like Quebec. And so historically, we've had a fairly sizable French-Canadian population residing throughout the Twin Cities. As the 20th century came to a close, a lot of the shoe factories and mills moved out, and it gave Lewiston and Auburn an opportunity to have a bit of a rebirth. And with that rebirth, saw a new wave of immigrants that came into this area, largely coming from places like Somalia and the Sudan and other parts of Africa. Of course, changing some of the immediate demographics of the Twin Cities. In many ways, making Lewiston and Auburn much more like a microcosm of a much larger U.S. city. It is not uncommon to hear multiple languages as you walk up and down Lisbon Street in the center of Lewiston. As you drive maybe 30 minutes further down the road, that takes you into the town of Freeport, Maine, where you'll find a tremendous amount of shopping outlets like LL Bean and Patagonia, Nike and Ralph Lauren, just to name a few. If you drive 15 minutes further, that'll take you to Reed State Park or the coast. If you go maybe another 15 minutes in another direction, that takes you into the city of Portland, which is the largest urban area for the state of Maine. We are approximately 2.5 hours north of the city of Boston. So I've shared a lot of information with you about our location and the Twin Cities. Why is this so important? It's important because the Twin Cities serve as a tremendous resource for Bates students. It ultimately operates as a tremendous outdoor classroom for our students. In fact, 50% of the courses provided here at the college have service learning components built into them. In fact, Bates was recognized a few years ago as a national leader in service learning opportunities for its students. It is nearly impossible to graduate from the college today without making some sort of connection with the overall Lewiston-Auburn community. In fact, we have an entire department called the Harward Center for Community Partnerships that is dedicated to connecting our students with the overall Lewiston-Auburn community. If that wasn't enough, every club and organization, every athletic team and department here on campus has a community liaison attached to it to help our students make further connections to the Lewiston-Auburn community. So I've shared some information with you about the Bates history and about the Bates location. However, I'd like to change gears ever so slightly and chat with you briefly about the academic calendar that our students operate on. This calendar is called a 4-4-1, where students literally will come in the fall semester and they'll take 4 classes. They go home for 4 weeks, they come back for that winter semester, and they take another set of 4 classes. That is a full-time course load for a Bates student. We then ask them to stick around for 2 out of the 4 years to complete what we call short term. Short term historically has run from the last week of April and stretched throughout the month of May. So it's historically been a 5-week term where our students take just 1 course. Starting next year, we are chopping that down to a 3-week term, where again, students will take just 1 course. A lot of our students have gone home for the summer at that point, so it further ensures a lot of personal attention and a lot of hands-on experience. There are lots of unique course offerings throughout the short terms. In fact, many of the courses will go abroad as an entire class. I'm thinking of theater courses that have gone to London to study Shakespeare, and environmental studies courses that have gone to China. We've been sending science courses to the Galapagos Islands, and that fulfills one of your lab requirements. So it's really an extension of learning by doing, and the college recognizing that learning really takes place beyond its immediate borders, and trying to provide our students with as much real-world opportunity and real-world learning experience as possible. Even though we require Bates students to complete 2 short terms out of their 4-year undergraduate experience, many Bates students will elect to do a 3rd. We will cap them off at 3. You cannot do 4 short terms. However, I say that to say they are very popular for the average Bates student. The trend that we've seen over the years is that many of our students hear a lot about short term coming into their Bates experience. They will likely knock one of those requirements out in the very first year. They have a great experience with short term. A lot of our sophomores will come back and knock that 2-year requirement out. Juniors are getting a little bit closer to graduation. They're oftentimes looking to take advantage of the internships that we provide for our students, of which they're doing 2 or 3 on average before they graduate from the college. And then a lot of our seniors will oftentimes opt back into short term, stretching that experience, in this case, for another 3 weeks before they graduate. Lots of other colleges will have a short term, but in many cases, they're sandwiched in between the 2 semesters. We simply tack ours on at the end of the academic year. We have all 4 seasons here in the beautiful state of Maine, and most Bates students will experience at least 3 of those 4 seasons by participating in our short terms. So that is the academic calendar that our students are operating on. And I'd like to change gears ever so slightly once again. Your very first academic experience here at the college will come in the format of the first-year seminar courses. These are now required courses. However, when I started my experience at Bates, they were not required, but some 98% of our students elected to take them. So they were very popular. They're excellent introductory courses that are designed to enhance your college writing skills and to enhance your public speaking skills, but also to give you a better sense of what's required of you as a Bates student. In fact, that professor is your very first advisor. They've had you in the classroom for a semester. We feel they can advise you a bit better based on the context of that classroom experience, as opposed to matching you up with someone whom you've never really worked with before. And that's the first of a multi-layered advising system. Once you declare a major, which doesn't have to happen until the end of your sophomore year, so you have 2 full years to explore, we'll provide you with a second layer of advising from that academic department. Your third and final layer of advising will really come in with your very last academic experience, and that comes in the format of the senior thesis project. There's only a handful of colleges left in the country that still require their students to complete a senior thesis project within their major in order to graduate. And we are one of those institutions. Now, we know that our students are going to go off to do wonderful things after they graduate from Bates. We have like a 99% post-graduation placement rate within 6 months of graduating from the college. Some 75 to as high as 83% of the students who complete our pre-health track gain admission to medical, dental, or vet school. That's approximately 25% above the national average. Last year's graduating class had a 100% admit rate to law school of those students who completed the pre-law track. And so we provide you with excellent advising, and we know that you will go on to do wonderful things, but your senior thesis project will live on beyond your time on the campus. And it takes on a variety of different formats. If you can imagine for a moment you're studying the humanities or the social sciences, you may find that your senior thesis is very much like a dissertation where you're writing and writing and writing. However, if you're studying something like the sciences, perhaps it's something much more research-oriented that you've built up over your 4-year experience. Keep in mind, we have no graduate students here at Bates, and so the focus is on undergraduate education, but that also provides our students with ample opportunity to get involved with things like research from day one. If that's something that you're interested in, I would encourage you to go to our website and look up Mount David Summit, which is more or less like the Olympics or the March Madness of research that happens on the Bates campus each year. Okay? If you are studying the arts, it might be something like a theater production or a music production, or it might be participating in the annual dance festival if dance is your major. It could be a mural if art and visual culture is your major. Keep in mind there's ample opportunity for the arts here at Bates as well. So that's what we refer to as the bookends to the Bates education. Everything from that first year seminar to the senior thesis project. But what happens in between as it relates to the academics? Here at Bates, we do not have a core curriculum that every student will complete. Instead, we have a series of general education requirements that really work to ensure that our Bates students receive a well-rounded education before they graduate from the college. We also have the 1+1 policy, where our students have the ability to study in multiple areas. We have 36 majors here at the college, and nearly 30 different minors, and almost 100 different concentrations. Majors typically consist of 10 to 12 courses a student would be required to complete. Most of our minors are clusters of 6 courses, and concentrations are essentially clusters of 4 courses. Many of those concentrations can lead to multiple minors. Many of the minors in other cases can lead to multiple majors. That should tell you that you have a tremendous amount of academic freedom and flexibility as a Bates student to really shape your own academic pathway. okay? And we love when students come to us with a variety of interests because you will in fact be required to study in multiple areas before you graduate. So that's the information that we usually like to cover as it relates to the academics. Now I would like to jump around to a few different areas before I go into the application process. Bates is an NCAA Division III institution. We are located in the NESCAC Athletic Conference. That is the New England Small College Athletic Conference. We compete against institutions like Williams, Amherst, Wesleyan, Middlebury, Tufts, Trinity, Connecticut College. Colby and Bowdoin would be the big in-state rivals. This is a fantastic opportunity for our student athletes to maintain a competitive edge while they pursue a world-class education. Keep in mind, we also offer club sports for those who are not looking to make the commitment of a varsity sport. Club sports will compete against other institutions that offer those sports at the club level. We also have a very robust intramural program. We guesstimate that some 60% of our students will be involved with athletics, whether it's at the varsity, club, or the intramural level. Now, the performing arts are also very popular at the college. We have a theater major with multiple theaters, including a black box theater on campus. We have a music major. We have an art and visual culture major. We have a world-class dance major that comes complete with an annual dance festival each year. So there is a tremendous amount of opportunity as it relates to the arts. Keep in mind that strong sense of inclusion that I talked about from the very beginning of this information session. You do not have to major in any of these areas to be involved in any of the productions that come out of these departments. Study abroad is also very popular for the average Bates student. Some 60% of our students will opt to study abroad before they graduate. We have some 200 different study abroad programs in 90 different countries all around the globe. I'd like to share a little information about financial aid as well. What's important to know is we operate under a policy that requires us to meet 100% of financial need for any student that we admit who might also be applying for financial aid. We also operate under a need-based policy. The idea is to spread the $40 million that goes out in financial aid to those who need it most. You'll be happy to know that the average financial aid award is around $46,000. We do not practice bait and switch where we load you up with a ton of financial aid in the first year and then give you much smaller financial aid packages in the next 3. So you can expect consistent financial aid awards each year. The average student indebtedness for a student who's been on financial aid for all 4 years is just under $13,000. It's nearly a $300,000 education that some of our students are receiving for just under $13,000. It's a tremendous investment in yourself. So these are robust financial aid awards and very competitive financial aid packages. So I'd like to share a little information about our application process. This information that I'm going to share now is certainly true to the process that we use here at Bates, but I dare say the more selective the college is that you're looking at, the truer this information is going to be. The first thing that we're looking to establish in the holistic review process that we use is a fit and a match between the applicant and how they project themselves throughout the application and what we know of the Bates community and all the academic programs that we have to offer here at the college. Fit and match is very much a two-way street. We're looking for students who seem to have that familiarity with us, who seem to match up well with our programs, but you're here today checking us out to see if in fact Bates is a match for you. So I would encourage you to continue demonstrating your interest and searching for those opportunities that will help you to get a better understanding of who we are and what we have to offer here at the college. Number 2 is the academic profile. Probably not much of a shocker to you there. Please understand that we get high school profiles from each of your high schools. These profiles help us to review your transcript within the context of the opportunities that existed for you. So we're not so much comparing you against other applicants who had an entirely different set of opportunities. We are using those high school profiles very much as a map or a key or a legend to reviewing your high school transcript. What sorts of courses were offered at your school? Did you take advantage of the offerings? Does your high school offer college prep courses or honors courses or AP or international baccalaureate courses? Did you take advantage of some of those offerings? Some schools offer 20 plus AP courses. Some schools may only offer 5 or fewer. We would never penalize a student for opportunities that did not exist for them. So again, these profiles help us to review your transcript within the context of the opportunities that existed for you. If you're looking to strengthen your profile, look to take challenging courses and perform well in them. We would never make an admit decision without seeing some sort of academic progress in the senior year. If you're familiar with senioritis, that's something that you might want to steer as far away from as possible. Please understand that we get your final transcripts before you graduate. So it's important that you carry this momentum through your senior year and into your first year here at Bates. So I can't say enough about the academic preparation because that too plays into that fit and match that we're ultimately looking for. Number 3 is an area where Bates has been way out in front of a lot of our peers. Bates was one of the first in the country to go completely test optional. Only 40% of every incoming class submits test scores prior to receiving their admit decision. So that should tell you the vast majority of the students on the Bates campus were actually non-submitters. That should tell you that we're not going to penalize you in any way, shape, form, or fashion if you choose not to submit your test scores. If you submit them, we will use that information before making our final decision. In some cases it could help, perhaps in other cases it could hurt. If it was me, based on what I've seen in my 7 years of reading about 1,000 applications a year, I would choose to submit my test scores if I met those test averages or if I surpassed the averages. We have a 700 in each section of the SAT and a 32 on the ACT. So do what's best for yourself as it relates to our testing policy. The 4th area would really be recommendations. We require 1 recommendation from your guidance counselor or your college counselor. They really typically provide us with the big picture of your overall high school experience. And then we also require 2 teacher recommendations. The teachers are speaking more specific to your experience inside the classroom. Keep in mind, we are looking for active learners here at the college, both inside and outside of the classroom. And that really segues into the 5th area of extracurriculars. What are you doing with your spare time? What sort of activities and organizations have you been involved with? What kind of leadership have you developed over the years from the different commitments that you've made? What sort of skills and talents and passions are you going to bring to the Bates community? This is something that can really make your application bubble to the surface out of such a competitive pool of applicants. You have to understand that nearly 80% of our applicants are academically admissible. We're looking for students who seem to have that strong fit and match, who seem to have that academic preparation, but we're also looking for students who are going to add to this overall Bates community with a lot of those skills, talents, and passions. So we'd like to see that you're going to continue with those activities and those extracurriculars. We like to see and we like to know what sorts of things you're going to get involved with here at Bates, beyond the academics. With that said, there's perhaps one additional area that I would add that we are using when we make our admit decisions, and that is personality and character will come into play at some point. We are obviously trying to build a cohesive class, one that will be together for 4 years. It's important to understand that 95% of Bates students live on the college campus together for all 4 years, something that the college guarantees. And so we have that interest in building a cohesive class. So the more we know about your character and the more we know about your personality, the better decisions we can make in the end. One last thing that I would like to share with you is that we have 3 application rounds that are available to students. We have 2 rounds of early decision, so ED1 and ED2. If you opt to apply through Early Decision 1, all of your application materials would need to be in the office by November 15th. You would get that decision around the holidays in December. If you choose to apply through Early Decision 2, all of your application materials would need to be in by January 1. You would get that decision in the middle of February. And then finally, we have a regular decision round, and the application deadline for regular decision would also be January 1, and you would get that decision in the middle of March. With that said, that brings me to the conclusion of this information session. I would like to thank you all for joining me today. I want to also make sure that I leave my contact information, as I would love to be a resource for those of you who may have some questions.